have Alvaro Soto. He is the Director of Product Management at Procore. And Alvaro believes that your UX team should actually lead the willingness to buy research at your organization. And I'm interested to hear more about this, Alvaro. Please tell us more.
Yeah, of course. So my background is in product, in design, in UX. I started as a UX designer, UX strategist at IBM, but then I quickly transitioned into data and product management. And at Procore, I'm leading the growth team. And one of the things that we've really been pushing for is that instead of hiring external firms, UX and product should get more comfortable discussing revenue and owning revenue targets. And so part of this hot take is just about breaking down the fear that product and the product organization in general should not be measured by how much revenue they need to bring to the company. In fact, I think that once you start on product-led growth, that is the main thing that you need to consider. And UX needs to get good at incorporating that type of research in their day-to-day practice. And so maybe just a little bit of introduction about myself. I mentioned I'm a director of product management for growth at Procore. Something interesting is that I own a restaurant, a chicken takeout restaurant here in Austin, Texas. And we're just about to open. So it's a little bit of the entrepreneur side. I own that with my husband, and we're pretty excited about that. But owning restaurants is a completely different type of business than technology. So yeah, I hope that with this presentation, what I convince teams is that, hey, if you already have a UX team, that's great. If you just have your product managers and your designers, they can be equipped to asking the right questions and to conduct the type of research that you need to start understanding if the products you're building are not just delivering value to those customers, but that they're actually going to convert those customers into paying customers, which is ultimately what we want. All right, so where did it start? It started because when we were doing willingness to buy here at Procore, prior to this research, we had hired organizations to come and do the same thing. And there's a lot of work that these organizations do, and they come back with a report that says, hey, here's how much you need to charge, and here are the features that you need to offer. But that gets stale pretty quickly. First of all, it's really hard to disseminate that information on your product team and for them to actually own the information and act on that information. And so not only you spend a lot of money, but if you don't do the work of transferring that information to your product team so that they internalize it, that entire research that your outside firm did is just not going to work. So the best thing to do is to empower your product team to actually understand how to ask questions to customers so that they can understand if they're delivering value, those products that you're building, but also if your customers are willing to pay for that value. So first, UX and product don't have the expertise to discuss money with customers. I think that is something that we should just forget. We all should have the expertise, and you don't really require expertise. The question is pretty straightforward. Would you purchase this if we deliver the value that you're expecting? The second one is building something customers need is better or greater than focusing on building something customers are willing to pay for. I'm generalizing, saying that many product teams or UX teams will say that is a fact, that they're just concerned about delivering value and that the money will come in some other way. And it's just the sales organization who needs to deal with that. But I think that's something that we also need to debunk, right? Like, I think building value is not enough. Building products that customers are willing to pay for is what we're here to do. And then the third one, which I was explaining, is that an external firm can produce better insights. They may have the tools to produce more sophisticated information and gather at the beginning insights that may have more backing in data or whatever methodology they're doing. But at the end of the day, the problem with research is that if it doesn't transfer to action, then what good is that research for? And the problem with a lot of these big deliverables that third-party firms have is that they're really hard to consume and to operationalize. All right, so In short, product and UX need to be responsible for revenue targets in PLG world. I think that I strongly believe that that is the case. I strongly believe that is the case of my team, for example, that we need to get good at discovering and testing willingness to buy research, because it's no more than we own just KPIs of engagement. Yes, we still do own those KPIs. We own the funnel, acquisition targets, activation targets, and we may own conversion targets, right? So we own PQL conversion rates, but we still, as a practice, we don't own the amount of revenue that we're going to be bringing, and I think that needs to change. If there's an e-commerce portion of your product and you have that e-commerce and its product-led growth, the product and product marketing organization, I'm talking about product at large, need to own that revenue that comes through the e-commerce portion of your business. And so in practice, what does this look like? The product team can partner to discover the customer willingness to buy, to pay with 3 tactics. This is what we've implemented before, and I think it works pretty simple. Like, I'm not here to kind of give a framework on how to do that. I think that there's many resources that you can go and read and take a look at to empower your team to ask the right questions. But I would break down in 3 phases. The first one is that we need to build understanding of the jobs to be done and then pain points your customers have, right? So this is probably, hopefully, many of you are already doing this. Many of you already have a jobs to be done framework or have a framework to understand what are the 3 key pain points that your customers have, that when they think about buying software, your product comes to play in that competitive market where they need to make a decision on which company is going to solve those 3 pain points. So clarify what are those first. Then the second thing is create fake door tests with a call to action to join a wait list, right? So once you identify those 3 pain points, what you're going to be doing is you're going to start understanding whether your customers, if you solve those 3 pain points, you're going to be in meetings and you're going to create surveys, or you're going to create one-on-ones interviews when you're going to ask, hey, we understand that these are your pain points. If we were to solve those pain points, are you willing to pay for this solution? So now that is the least helpful questions, right? Because if you ask somebody, are they willing to pay for something? The answer that they give is probably not the one that they will take once they are actually about to swipe the credit card. But it at least gives you direction whether you're solving the right thing. This is all you want to do in point 1. In point 1, if you ask somebody, are you willing to pay for this? You at least are giving them a way to say, honestly, if what you're solving is valuable. So you don't really care that much about how much, although you could also add that. You could also have them say, are you willing to pay for this? And then another question that follows up to that is, what is the price point in which this starts to become too expensive, right? And so you're going to offer ranges of what you think your product could be, how much you can charge for, and then you're going to understand when do they think it starts to become too expensive to solve that solution. Ideally, they're so excited about solving that solution that they're going to be very honest about, hey, I think I'm willing to pay about this amount of money if you really solve those problems. And you're going to hear a lot of, well, if you really solve that, which is imagining that is a vision, I would definitely pay for it. And that's when you know that you're in the right direction. But getting better at that would be to start actually testing whether they are in the wild without you in a meeting, if they're actually going to take an action that gets closer to that decision. And one of those is creating a fake door test with a call to action to join a waitlist, right? So maybe you don't have your e-commerce set up already, but you can create a page that shows all your features, all your bundles. And then if they're interested, they're going to add their email so that you can tell them when those features are ready. So instead of a pay button or add your credit card button, you just have a big button that says join waitlist. I think that is a growth hack exercise that many companies have done in other methods, in other ways of growing their business. And this is a perfect opportunity to use something like that. Not only you're testing their willingness to pay by measuring the action of joining a waitlist, because you have to give them the emails, but you're also collecting emails that then you can use to target once you actually build your product. The third is to ask customers to pay to be an early beta tester, right? So if you don't have your product and your e-commerce, there is no wrong in asking them to pay to be an early participant of your beta program. So you can say is exclusive. We just have about 100 customers or 50 customers. And for those who are willing to pay X amount of money, we are going to add them to that beta program. So those are 3 tactics. I'm sure there's many more that you can implement, but the whole idea is that these are all product tactics. You don't need sales organization to do this. You don't need many other resources. It's product and UX who needs to come up with these tactics to evaluate willingness to pay.